It's just support, Tom!
We do still have some time before the next round, so maybe we can bring Frenchie up and see if they can explain their deck to us a little bit better.
Yeah, go for it. So Frenchie, first off, congratulations, you're 2-0. Tell us a little bit about your thought process on using the Rakdos Demons deck, and your thought process behind, first off, bringing it to the RC and DC where you went 9-5, 9-6.
Yeah, it was 9-6. Let me. Gosh, that microphone
scenario,
really
we can
threw
hold
us
it.
off. Yeah. Can you scoot over again?
I can definitely
Yeah,
scoot.
Cool. All right, we are both in frame now.
And you're not Eric, so
Yeah. Oh, did I press a button?
no,
Maybe?
it's on. It's
Okay,
good.
cool. But yeah, my thought process was, one, I was already planning, like y'all have been seeing for the past few weeks, I had been doing the Golgari talent combo. So, and one of my main thought processes going into the RC was, I'm really comfortable on Thoughtseize Fatal Push decks, like black base mid range. I like waste not, stuff like that. So because that's my comfort zone, I kind of am in the point where Pioneer feels like a format similar to Modern, and where you can no longer be doing something that's fair and be like a really good contender. Every deck needs to have something unfair, including the most fair of mid-range decks need to have something stupidly overpowered. Like, for instance, when Scam was the biggest deck, like, it was technically the most fair deck in Modern, but it was Scam.
I think so. I played Scam, so I think that was a perfectly fair deck. No.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're kind of at that point where the power level of the format's so high, you kind of need to be doing something over the top. And originally I was going to be doing that Planeswalker combo where I'm just able to one-shot people, and made sure that it was really, it could close out games out of nowhere. And when I saw folks putting this together on MTGO and performing leagues, I saw Gabe Nassif's video on it. It was like, I thought, like, okay, this is cool, but this feels a tad clunky. And also, if any of you know me and my stance on some of the cards in the format, I personally am on the #ban Fable train because that card is stupidly overpowered. And yeah, turns out, as y'all saw in that game 2 with against the Knights deck, yeah, it's kind of dumb when you copy a slasher like 5 times.
Yeah, that was a lot of math that we were doing in our heads. We're like, all right, so how does this actually work? All right, so you take 2 and then you lose half the life, and you take 2 and you lose half the life. So there's a lot of math that was going on, and thankfully Grant gained some life off of those Smitten Sword Masters, that they would have been dead, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was yeah, I believe they also, interestingly enough, I think they were also kind of like going to make sure that they at least could like not have the Fable combo happen to them afterwards. So they felt the need to kill a Fable, but realistically, it would only save them 1 life if they blocked another slasher. Like, they would be at 2 instead of 1.
Yeah.
Which wasn't great. But yeah, at the end of the day, the entire point of the deck is to put a bunch of creatures that do a lot in combat, and then combine them with things that can affect combat in very powerful ways. So that was where the FOMOs came in. I wasn't initially running FOMO in the RC list because it wasn't something that came to me. I was actually chatting with Ting, Ting Fang. Both of us made day 2, and like day 2, my deck was really struggling, especially making like those 3rd and 4th land drops. And he suggested just FOMO, the discard draw, to help smooth over your early plays, give you an early creature, and then the deck enables Delirium really well. So that was a really good call out. So now we're on a full 4 of those, and yeah, other than that, it's a lot of really powerful, clean mid-range cards that gain you a ton of advantage. The room obviously is insane when you have all of these just incidental demons in your deck. When you include the Mutavaults, and then the other side of the room, the deck's running a suite of 13 demons, so you get it pretty consistently, pretty easily.
Very similar to the vampires list, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not going to be like the entire deck is that creature type, but again, it's kind of taking the place of what vampires is. And when I was going through and playing the deck, it feels like a vampire deck that's a bit easier to interact with
Mhm.
in terms of just like their big explosive combo play. Obviously, the big explosive combo being Slasher on 3, Bloodlight on 4, kill you.
Yep.
Whereas the Rakdos Vampires was just Slam Sword, throw in a
Vein
Vein
Ripper.
Ripper, and just go to town from there. It's way easier to interact with it, but also it at least ends the game on the spot, which
Yeah.
the Rakdos deck didn't do and could sometimes struggle, especially against some of the like the Exile Sweepers that Control would have. So I just like that it ended the game quickly, and that was the reason why I chose to pivot. And I mean, it seems like both myself and the one other person who I didn't even have any conversations with them. We just both had the same idea. It's great minds think alike. Both of us day two'd. I just kind of did the math backwards from my record. It looks like they went 6-5, and they day two'd on a 6-3, and then lost their first couple.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas even though I went 7-2 and then went 1-1 at the beginning of day 2, I still played it out just to have fun and enjoy it. Because at that point, I wasn't going to be able to play the modern Reseq, which the other player, I believe, did.
Okay.
Because I think they were really going for a qualifier slot. So, yeah, I just played it out, and yeah, it was... I think the deck has a lot of legs, and even the mono black version has a lot of legs too. I think that no one settled on a final list. A lot of us are tweaking, and chatting with a lot of the folks playing mono black at the event. They all kind of agreed Bankbuster was kind of the weakest, weirdest card in the deck.
Yeah.
Just because Bankbuster can only really be... In most decks, you try and build around crewing Bankbuster on turn 3, turn 4, etc. The only card that can crew Bankbuster in the deck is the Archfiends. Everything else is too small. So it's kind of a weird stopgap card that is kind of a necessary evil right now for what the folks are currently doing on mono black, which is again one of the reasons why I wanted to splash the red, because I felt like Fable and now FOMO are much more impactful cards in that slot.
Yeah. It seemed like the mono black version was also really crushing on the Unholy Annex landing and kind of having like the Phyrexian Arena effect, because you don't have the Fable card filtering, you don't have the FOMO card filtering. So definitely, I wanted to ask about the FOMO. I wanted to ask about how you felt about the Unholy Annex. You already hit upon those, but what do you think, like piloting the deck and seeing, like, obviously now you've added in the FOMO, so it might be a little bit different. What are the decks that like you're afraid of seeing as this Demons deck?
Yeah, so the I mean, kind of similar to most Rakdos mid-rangey decks of the past, you're really not interested in seeing Enigmatic. That was the that was the matchup that I was the most scared of facing all weekend. And I forget what that gentleman's name was, but I believe he went by Paul, the guy who made the semifinals. He was one person who I played on that deck, and yes, he was very good at it. And so I'm like, you know what, I'll take an 0-2 to you killed it. And then seeing him get to the semis, I'm like, you know what, that's fine.
Yeah, I lost to the semifinalist.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. That was pretty sweet. And then other than that, as I've been playing the deck, kind of it can outgrind most decks. I would say the other hardest matchups are like Grease Fang can be pretty hard, just because they can combo you quicker than you can combo them. And they put up a ton of blockers as well at with just all their token makers. And then lastly, not Azorius Control. I feel perfectly fine against Azorius Control, but weirdly enough, Dimir Control.
Okay.
Just I can deal with the spot removal, the sweepers, the counter spells. I can't deal with spot removal, sweepers, counter spells, and hand hate.
Yeah.
Having that perfect quad is just the exact right way to make sure that I never assemble the combo to begin with. It takes away all my card advantage, and then just grinds me into oblivion with like sharks and all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess because in that point, then they get to hand disrupt away the cards that are going to be giving you cards back, and then kill the things on site that they see and counterspell the things that like will eventually become problems later, or they're like their fatal pushes can't kill.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really, really good matchup for them, because they can just pick you apart. But realistically, I don't foresee that being too much of a matchup to face going forward, just because it struggles against a lot of the other decks. Like, it's very well structured to beat these grindy mid-range decks, because they can 1-for-1 better than anyone. But I mean, 1-for-1ing against, say, like Rakdos Prowess and some of these other decks, that can be a lot more rough. And it just, I don't know how that matchup would go against enigmatic, but I don't think it's nearly as good as the Azorius one.
Now, the Azorius deck has the enchantment hate. Like, Get Lost is a
Exactly.
very versatile card. It's a very strong card. So I was actually going to bring up your own sideboard options, because
Yeah.
I know obviously you said enigmatic, very difficult deck. The mono black Demons deck was splashing green for Back to Nature to try to combat that deck, and did so to middling success. But when you're looking at your deck, and your sideboard for like different kinds of matchups, do you actually find yourself ever taking out the combo pieces, or is this a deck that needs to have the combo pieces in it?
So I would say that so for what it's worth as well, since playing I've actually shaved out from the original list. I had full 4s of just basically everything you wanted. Now we've shaved down to 3 Annex, 3 Bloodletter.
Okay, yeah.
Just to kind of like lower the curve, bring in the FOMOs, because the FOMOs will help draw you into those cards anyway. And realistically, I had a game against Phoenix where I had only 3 lands, and I had 3 3 Annexes, 3 Archfiends, and an Extinction Event in hand. And I'm not about to put those unholy Annexes in there when I'm dying to all 4 Phoenixes coming back from the graveyard. So it was pretty rough, and like shaving one of those down for the FOMOs to just have a way to continue filtering was something I was really interested in. And then even so, like going into the sideboard, once people know about the combo, it's a lot harder to actually assemble it. So it's better to board out on usually 1 more Bloodletter. That would be the most I'd go down. I would still keep 2 of them in, but then other than that, a few other just a few other random things shaving here and there. That's really all I would change. I don't think you ever go down on FOMO, Slashers, Fables, and Archfiends. I think those all 4 as 4-ofs are just such a core part of your strategy, and they're going to be what gets you over the finish line. You kind of can't take them out. Whereas other cards, you can very much shave a little bit to bring in those really powerful effects that are much better in different matchups, such as, Go Blinks against Control. You really want those over Fatal Pushes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then also, by keeping in the full 4 FOMOs and Slashers, you can just kind of steal a game out of nowhere by like swinging in with Slasher multiple times.
Yeah, it's, again, the fact that the entire deck is built around being able to combo off in the combat step with various different synergies between all of these different creatures and enchantments and stuff. It makes for a really dynamic playstyle, and it's really trying to... There's a good mix of when do I go into my opponent's hand and interact? When do I just assemble my game plan and just have my opponent have it? When do I kill something? All of those things. It's incredibly dynamic. You're trying to solve the puzzle every time, and it's going to be different. And that's kind of what makes it fun. And sometimes the combat math is also hysterical. And then other times the combat math's just really clean. I cut your life total in half twice.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's enough. You just cut their life into pieces, and it's not even your last resort. So, all right. I do believe that we are going to be starting round number 3 in just a second. The timer has reached 0 on round number 2. So thank you very much, Frenchie, for just giving us a full breakdown on the deck. Let people know where they can follow you and see your journey on just kind of iterating on the deck.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep iterating on the deck. All of my socials go by HermesTheNerd, so I'm sure we'll be able to get that somewhere. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm gonna be up to, and I'm gonna be continuing to iterate. And I'm also all over Discord too at Hermes. You can find me on the Card Art Discord, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome.
I think I'm being called to play a match. So.
Yeah, you got to go play Tin Fang. So it's going to be a day 2 of Card Art Showdown.